Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Ernest Dove, resident prospect hugger of Twitter X for the New York Mets Dove Report. It's another week. Might as well spend another day before the Mets either implode or are back to being great, depending on what Mets Twitter wants to think in any given moment. Let's get back to the more important things like the minor league system, which is dominating up and down the levels. Lots of wins that no one really cares about, but I want to talk about, at least highlight as many players as possible for this week's show. Please, if you continue to follow, subscribe, follow along. I got a lot of cool stuff, some insight, some information, some coach talk, staff speak on some of the prospects if you can follow along throughout this segment. I want to start with all the way up in AAA. Might as well talk about Drew Gilbert. He's kind of the main guy you want to talk about. I've been mentioning it for weeks, but the Syracuse Mets roster is pretty much an entire roster, almost full of veterans, outside of Blade Tidwell and Dom Hamill. Some of the prospects who've been kind of up and down again. Hamill and Tidwell both had up and down outings this last week. But for Drew Gilbert, he had the highlight reel defensive play, I believe, in center field. For the season itself, since getting back from rehabbing in the low minors, Drew Gilbert now has played 8 games at the AAA level. Again, with the highlight play, he's got a .382 on-base percentage, 5 walks, 7 Ks in his 8 games. I'll take that all day. Something to definitely keep an eye on, of course, because, again, it's looking more and more like Drew Gilbert is, quote-unquote, playable in center field, doing really well with a strong enough arm. So for someone like him to be at the highest minor league level with those type of traits and tools at a needed position, it's going to make sense. We're probably going to see him very soon. How soon? I don't know. Again, this is a veteran-laden team, but now he's on it. So I want to see how soon they promote a Drew Gilbert. Down in AA, I even had the coach talk to me about a week ago saying it's about to happen. They're waiting on Jonah Tong to do what he does. And sure enough, it only took a couple of days, or literally his next outing. Jonah Tong, 4 innings, 1 hit, 10 strikeouts, only 1 walk, which is going to be what it's all about for Jonah Tong anyway. If he keeps the walks down with his elite stuff that I've been hyping about and talking about since spring, showing the videos of that, the breaking stuff that he has with the elite fastball, that's the fastball velocity ticked up this season. It kind of dipped a little bit last year. I think he's back to normal in all realms. Hopefully he's back to being one of the number 1 prospects. If not, maybe even almost the number 1 pitching prospect, depending how you want to put guys now, even week to week in the ranking system between himself, Noah McLean, Brandon Sproat, or even a Jack Weniger, who we'll have to talk about. But again, Jonah Tong, he's got the 12-6 hook. He's got the really good fastball. He's got a lot of movement on his pitches. So it's always going to be about command for him, but what an amazing week or start for him to hopefully get things going and back on track. The other guy I've been trying to talk about since last year, I believe he's now 22 years old, looks like he's strictly a reliever now. Now, if you watch my show, I keep trying to talk about guys who need to switch from long man starter to just pure reliever and see how it goes. Sure enough, Douglas Oriana, the right-hander who's in AA, he only has a 1.08 ERA as a full-time reliever. So I believe he has about 6 outings, not even totaling more than 8 innings pitched, which honestly I like. Oriana's been one of those super talented work-in-progress arms that I was hearing about from even a year or 2 ago. And I guess some of the player development stuff involved pitch command, pitch arsenal, trying to figure it out. So maybe lowering him strictly to a reliever, working out really fine right now. I think you guys should keep more of an eye on Douglas Oriana. Even talking to staff again this week, they like everything about what's going on. Just keep an eye on him. The other guy, of course, one of the top prospects, Jet Williams. He's starting to get hot, everybody. He actually just lost a 9-game hitting streak yesterday. So after a 9-game hitting streak, he lost the streak yesterday, but during the lost streak, he walked twice. So again, 9-game hitting streak, and then getting on base twice in the 10th game out of his last 10 games. His batting average at the AA level is now up to 290 with a 353 on base percentage. Got an 869 OPS. So obviously this is something you really want to see that's going really well. I understand all the things defensively. He's still been moved around a bit. Still seems to be playing more middle infield than center field. I, there's always going to be a method to the madness. Let's see how things play out in general with Jet Williams, because I've been saying this way too long now for the last year or so. What do you do with Jet Williams and Luian Acuna, since they're like the same person? It is what it is. They play the same positions. They both have speed. What do you want to do? Maybe one can get on base a little bit more for Jet Williams. Acuna has definitely the upgrade in defense, glove, range, arm. So what do we do with the two guys? Do you pick one? That's going to be up to Stearns, but Jet Williams now is starting to soar. The other guy I want to talk about, it's been a very, very, very rough start to the minor league season at that Double-A show-me level for Nick Morabito, who with progression, with player development, he began to dominate low A and high A. So he earned his right. He got the much-deserved promotion to Double-A, and then he started really ice cold in Double-A. But in the last week, the last 6-game week, that's the schedule for minor leaguers, during the 6-game week, he went 6 for 22, which is a 273 average. Just want to keep an eye on it. Again, he's a guy if he gets a single, he's probably on second base. So a single is a double for him. I know the power isn't there, but again, he's an extra base hit just by getting on the first base to begin with that speed. I believe the defense is still good, still definitely okay. I still see him now as more of an outfielder, but I don't know if they're going to keep switching him. But I do like the overall player still, and I love the speed. And it's just the question is, Nick Morabito, now that he's at the show-me level, can he even maintain something like a 270 batting average? Which, again, I know I'm old. No one wants to talk about batting average anymore, but he doesn't have the power. The slugging is not always going to be massive. So he's got to get on base. Even what we're seeing actually with Acuna at the major league level right now, can Morabito do that? Can he put the ball in play enough to get on base at like a 270 clip, 280-ish, which is what Acuna is kind of hovering around now recently since he got regular playing time in the majors. I want to see if a Nick Morabito can do stuff like that as well. So on the pitching side, want to talk about one of my favorites for like at least 2 years now. So I know you guys hear about it obsessively on my shows and on my posts. Felipe De La Cruz. I think he's putting it all together, hopefully. I'm super excited about it. The staff is super excited about it. Talking with coach, Felipe De La Cruz, the pitch command of more than one of his pitches has starting to come to fruition. The reason why I love Felipe De La Cruz so much is because he's a left-handed pitcher who can top 94, 95 plus. So any lefty, you can't teach 95. So that's the one thing. I love his breaking stuff as well. That can be pretty dominant when it's enough in the zone. And again, now for a guy like this, here's the thing with Felipe De La Cruz in 2025 so far, knock on wood, at the Double-A show-me level, he currently is sporting his lowest walk rate in his pro career. So he's got the low walk rate. He's got the 13 Ks per 9 innings, which is something he can do anyway. But again, with that type of command, he's got a 1.98 ERA so far through his starts in Double-A. Again, show me level. If he can keep the walks down, he's a major league pitcher. I still honestly don't know, though. Hand to God, is Felipe De La Cruz going to be a rotational starter or a reliever? I think in my brain, I want to kind of have him be a 1 to 2-ish inning reliever who lets it fly, maybe gets it to 95, 96 plus, show off the breaking ball, maybe pick his best one and just roll with it. That would be my thought. But with the start that he's having, pitching like this for 3-4 innings at a time, because it seems like everybody's piggybacking all throughout the system. I love Felipe De La Cruz pitch command. Keep an eye on it because that's a major leaguer if he continues anywhere near this walk rate. Another guy, again, with a pro career low walk rate so far is Jack Wenninger, who's been pitching like the ace of a staff in the Mets minor league system. Through his 4 starts now, his ERA is 0.90. 20 innings, 32 Ks. That puts him at 14 Ks per 9 innings. One of the things I've heard about for both the lefty Felipe De La Cruz and the righty Jack Wenninger, some of the keys to their success has been a new two-seam fastball. So Felipe De La Cruz is pounding the new two-seam fastball against opposing lefties. Jack Weniger is sporting his new two-seam fastball, getting out a lot of the opposing righties. So here's some of the pitch stuff. I don't know if it's the lab / coaching / normal progress in player development, but we're seeing the different pitches again, different changes in arsenals, and this is some of the stuff now that's popping right away. Does that mean that even the two-seam has enough command of it has led to overall pitch command being good? Maybe. This is exciting stuff. I want you guys to keep an eye on both players. Now I want to get to the high A level. Got to talk about my guy who it was confirmed through even my source as well that he's been promoted to Double A. So congrats to the Double A promotion for left-handed pitcher Zach Thornton, a.k.a. Zach. Every rose has his Thornton. He's been off to such a blazing start in high A Brooklyn. So again, reportedly, it's been confirmed that he's been promoted to Double A, but at the high A level, then he finishes with a 0.44 ERA through his 4 outings. He pitched a total of 20 2/3 innings with 25 strikeouts, but here's what matters. 20 2/3 innings, 2 walks for Zach Thornton. It's been the story of the 4 outings combined. I believe I was posting some of the stats in the box scores week to week in his outings. He's had outings where it looks like 70 to 80% of his pitches have been thrown for strikes. That's what's happening. So for him to have a 0.40 ERA while throwing pretty much all strikes in the zone, that's why it looks so good for Zach Thornton. And it can show to be really good even at the Double A level. The other thing to talk about is his fastball velocity. It looks like his fastball velocity has increased. I believe last year it was probably sitting 90, 91, 92. This year he's looking more 93, 94, and could possibly still top 95 miles an hour. So again, for the lefty pitcher like this, even saw a video that I posted in the last few days in his last start, 93 mile an hour pitch for a strikeout. That's going to be the best part of Zach Thornton. Can he continue to do that? Can he even get another tick higher? Can he even be like a future David Peterson? It's one thing to look out for and wait on. Back to the hitting side in high A Brooklyn, want to talk about some of my favorites that include Carson Benj, obviously the highest draft pick from the last draft. Looks like he's starting to kind of put things together now in Brooklyn. Got off to a slow start while walking a lot. So the on-base percentage has been good the whole year. Batting average has been low. But in the last 5 games, so in the 5-game series that he played, he sat one of the games. In this last series this past week, he finished 6 for 19 with a home run, 5 walks, and 3 Ks. So again, more walks than Ks. Now he's hitting more in this past series. Let's see if that continues to progress for him. One of the things I really like about Carson Benj, he walks a lot, and he seems to go opposite field naturally. So it's cool to keep an eye on how these things are going to go. Even if and when he soon moves up to the Double A level, I like the idea of him spraying the ball around before more than anything else. I think the defense is still playable and in the outfield. So I want to see how he continues to progress. But honestly, right now, so far, so good for Carson Benj, in case anybody was worried about him after the slow start. One of my favorites I have to bring up is the Swiss Army knife of the Mets organization. They usually have a couple of these every year because of the super utility aspect to them. But right now, DeAndre Smith is having the season of his pro career. He hasn't been around that long, but again, he's a college bat. And I had been mentioning him, and he even talked about it on the show when I interviewed him. He said, hey, I'm still seeing myself needing more player development. I'm still working towards certain tools, certain skills. And that was when he told me there were plans to kind of make him an infielder / outfielder. And that's when last year he started playing up to 5, 6 positions. So far this year, he's played 3 positions: second base, right field, left field. But what's really happening right now is DeAndre Smith might be that late bloomer that I've been mentioning for him. Maybe he's blossoming. It's in high A. He's hitting .302 with a .415 on-base percentage. And a lot of that has to do with 9 walks versus 7 Ks. So when you have the higher walks than Ks, when you're hitting over 300, by the way, he has 7 stolen bases. So to start the year very early in April in high A, he has as many stolen bases as strikeouts. That's something you want to see from anybody. And again, he plays at least 3 positions. I'm wondering if he'll still play more by the end of the year. Maybe it depends on now as more promotions start to happen and guys start shuffling around. Maybe they'll start moving DeAndre Smith around more to keep that bat and those legs in the lineup with that speed. The other guy, how do I not talk about him? And people are now asking me about him. I need to get more information on him, but outfielder Starling Mercado is hitting 405 in high A. Again, this is a pitcher's league. I think maybe he must be missing a few at-bats to not qualify for things, because if he was qualified in the stats for the league, he'd be first in pretty much 2 or 3 categories. So hopefully he just keeps getting into the game so I can start kind of posting and reporting on his league standings and all these stats. But again, he's hitting 405, 7 walks, 9 Ks. He's 22 years old in high A. Again, that's not young, not old. Seems to be kind of right on track depending on how you want to see things player development-wise. Probably a guy that Stearns will probably move up even by the time I finish this video. So keep an eye on a Starling Mercado. The other guy who's kind of cruising along in high A, I've been hyping about him since the offseason when he had the lost 2024 to injuries. Here he is 100% healthy, and the young still, Jacob Reimer, the mostly predominant third baseman, he's slashing 303, 369, 566, and a 935 OPS in high A. He also has 13 extra base hits in 19 games. That's something I was talking about even from before he was injured most of the year last year, when he was a little bit younger in low A in St. Lucie. My thing was, how's the defense? How much power can he have up the levels? So defensively, I've seen a couple of nice plays on videos. He seems to have a pretty good arm. We have to figure out more of the range and footwork. I want to see how things go, especially, again, guys like this, you need to see them in Double-A before you really judge them. But this is an exciting, healthy season for Jacob Reimer, who, as far as I'm concerned, as a teenager, you probably were putting him in a consensus top 20 on the Mets, prospect list. So he kind of fell off because of the lost season. But now that he's healthy, you may have to jump him all the way back up into the top 20, especially just because of the extra base hits right now, because it looks like he keeps hitting to contact pretty well either way. So when you add the extra base hits, we may have something brewing here in Jacob Reimer once again, because I still liked him a couple of years ago. Another pitcher I wanted to bring up is a guy who started late to the season. Looks like might have been some minor injuries or some delays, but Ryan Ammons, the left-hander, he's back on the scene, and he's back doing what he does. He's technically in high A Brooklyn, which probably doesn't belong there. He's 24 years old, but it's important to note he's played 4 games, 4 1/3 innings, 0 hits, 2 walks, and 5 Ks. He's a guy I was talking with the coach about last year. They really loved him as a pitcher. So that was pretty exciting, especially as a left-hander. You can never have enough left-handers. I think Ryan Ammons is another guy who's going to make it definitely to Double-A, Triple-A. We'll see how things transpire from there. But you guys need to keep an eye on him in the box scores or in my posts and shows. Ryan Ammons may continue to put up these kind of numbers, especially in high A. So hopefully I'll be able to start posting about him in Double-A as well. I wanted to end this show or segment talking about some of the younger players, and it sounds like per some of the reports, all 3 have now been promoted to high A Brooklyn. So still speaking on them as St. Lucie Mets players, teenager Marco Vargas, if he is getting promoted as reported, he's pretty much ending his time in the Florida State League as one of its best players. He's hitting 409 in the Florida State League as a 19-year-old with pitchers parks and sometimes a pitchers league. And he has 10 walks to 7 Ks. This is something he did in the Marlins organization in the low minors. He's continuing to do it in the Mets organization as a teenager. When you have more walks than Ks at 18, 19 years old, something is brewing. Defensively, he looks pretty good. I posted one of the highlight video kind of moves that he made in the field during this past week. So the infield stuff is looking okay. But again, with this bat hitting 400, more walks than Ks, can't really keep up numbers like that. But I think the walk K rate can probably be pretty similar, especially in high A. I think he could try to maintain it once he gets adjusted to the higher level. Because again, he's 19 now. He's going to be in high A. The other young player reportedly getting promoted is A.J. Ewing, who's another guy who's hitting 400. So you got 409 Marco Vargas. You got A.J. Ewing hitting 400. And in his 18 games in low A, A.J. Ewing has 15 walks to 10 Ks. Now, this blows my mind because last season, I believe because he's repeating the level. Last year, I think he had about 60 walks to over 100 strikeouts. Now, all of a sudden, he has more walks than Ks. This, in and of itself, probably why he had to be promoted early and fast. It also helps to hit 400. But the other thing is with A.J. Ewing, 18 games played, 14 stolen bases. He's going to be a madman on the bases, especially if he hits enough, which obviously he did in Florida State League. We need to keep an eye on him. It looks like he's been going back to second base now for a little bit. He's been playing a lot of outfield last year and then the beginning of this year. Now it looks like they're squeezing him back at second base for some reason. I want to keep an eye on that, especially in Brooklyn now. I want to see what position or positions he plays, see if they keep doing an infield-outfield situation with A.J. Ewing, just to see what they have and see where they can place him, up the remaining levels. The last pitcher I've been joking about, all X on there for the season, is Chandler Marsh. He's an undrafted pitcher who's been pitching in St. Lucie. He didn't give up a hit until yesterday for the entire season. So I guess it's finally over. The inevitable happened. He actually gave up 2 hits, my Lord. Meanwhile, it was his 8th outing of the season. So after 7 outings without allowing a hit, his 8th outing, 2 hits, but of course, no runs allowed. So for his season, again, reportedly he's been promoted. Chandler Marsh, 10 2/3 innings, 2 hits allowed this season, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts. This is pretty amazing to me. Definitely, obviously deserve to move on to Brooklyn. The Mets, especially as an undrafted guy, you might as well see what you have as quick as possible. I wouldn't even be shocked if he showed up in Brooklyn in Binghamton at the end of the year. You might as well push a guy like this. I believe he's 22 years old. Again, not young, not old for the level, especially for high A now. I want to see if he gets pushed to double A at the end of the year, just to see. Another guy to keep an eye on, I think Haas Brewer. Just because his name is Haas, I think we should follow and keep eyes on him. Mainly because one of the pitching coaches told me specifically to keep an eye on Haas and Chandler Marsh because they were both undrafted guys, I believe. Both had very strong springs. So it sounds to me like they came in so prepared, showing off their stuff, they won their spots in the Mets organization. These are the kind of guys you always want to root for. And speaking of rooting, if you guys can root for me by the way of subscribing to the channel, clicking on the like button, maybe make a few comments. I'll try to answer more questions about other players that I didn't talk about in this segment. Hit me up on X, or if you could just comment on this YouTube show, I'll try to comment back on the other guys that I'm hearing stuff about. But hey, continue to support me. Continue to support everything I do. Let's go Mets.